How's it going, everybody? Brian here with another album review. 2016 backlog continues with Dystopia, the newest album from thrash metal legends Megadeth. Dystopia is the follow-up to 2013's Super Collider, which was almost universally hated by fans. Fans were not impressed with the more laid-back, radio-friendly hard rock approach that the band had taken up. Most fans, including myself, were not too excited for a new album from the band. Things were made worse when Sean Drover and Chris Broderick, the band's drummer and guitarist, left the band. The lead guitarist role was given to Kiko Lario, who was mostly unknown up to that point, and filling in on drums was Chris Adler of Lamb of God fame. It was that announcement that made me more interested in this album, as Lamb of God is a heavier band, and I was hoping that Adler would influence Dave Mustaine into making a return to the band's thrash metal roots. Thankfully, just that happened, as Dystopia is the return to form that most fans have been waiting for. Instead of sounding like Super Collider, this record calls back to the days of Rust in Peace and Peace Sells. The album opens up with The Threat Is Real, which begins with a Middle Eastern influenced opening right before the first riff kicks in. The track is without a doubt thrash, which is just great to hear from the band again. There was some absolutely fantastic guitar work on display here. The chorus is also quite good, with Mustaine singing sounding a lot better than it was on Super Collider. This is followed up by the title track Dystopia, which is definitely a callback to fan favorite song Hangar 18. It echoes the song's breakdown by having a solid metal song with a lot of solos intertwined between. It's capped with 2 minutes of constant soloing, which can never be a bad thing in my eyes. Fatal Illusion is next, and it begins with an okay opening, but nothing that special. But the tone of the song changes the moment that longtime bassist David Ellefson kicks in with an absolutely killer bass riff. The main guitar riff echoes this bass intro throughout the entire song. The song stands out as something that could have been written for the Peace Sells album. The next track is Death from Within, which continues the great riffs and guitar work displayed thus far. Bullet to the Brain follows and contains a solid acoustic guitar opening and an aggressive chorus. It's not quite as strong as the previous tracks, but it's still a solid effort by the band. This is followed by Post American World, which is a politically inspired song, which is something Megadeth always excels at. It also contains a great guitar solo. Poisonous Shadows follows, and it's probably the best song on the whole album. It begins with an acoustic guitar opening that builds up the anticipation for what's to come. What follows is some fantastic guitar work from Lario. The tempo of the song is also a bit slower, but it fits in with the longer runtime of the song. Mustaine sings quite well on this track. The solo is also great here. The ending piano can be best described as chilling. It's definitely a standout on the album, and definitely my favorite off the album as well. This is followed by Conquer or Die, which is an instrumental that displays the best guitar work on the album. The first half is done on classical guitar before it transitioned into electric. The soloing here is incredible. It does an amazing job as it transitions into the next song, Lying in State, which continues the speed shown on the rest of the album. The Emperor is next, and it's probably the most radio-friendly song on the album, with shades of Super Collider being heard here. However, it is better than most of the songs off that album. The chorus is incredibly catchy. The album ends with a cover of the Fear song, Foreign Policy. It's a solid cover, but it doesn't really fit in that well with the rest of the album. Overall, Dystopia is a much-needed return to form for Megadeth, after coming off of one of their weakest efforts. On Dystopia, the band is able to show that they are still able to deliver some great metal tracks. It's one of their best albums in years. There are a couple weaker songs, mainly the last two, but what is good here is incredibly good. I give Dystopia an 8 out of 10. If you want more metal and rock reviews quite like this one, then please feel free to subscribe to Bubba Inc. And if you enjoyed this review, please feel free to like this video. Cheers!